What if the world you see is not the world that exists? A quiet question, but one that shakes the foundations of everything you've ever believed. What if every choice you make, every desire you chase, every fear you run from, was carefully placed inside your mind by something, or someone, you cannot see? What if the life you're living is not truly yours? Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing your reality is a beautifully constructed illusion, a prison without walls, a dream so convincing that you never thought to question it. The ancient Gnostics believed exactly this. To them, the world you live in is a matrix, a false reality built to keep you obedient, distracted, and unaware of who you truly are. And once you see through it, even once, nothing ever looks the same again. Today, we step behind the curtain. We explore the hidden architecture of the matrix. We decode the system that shapes your mind. And we uncover the secret the Gnostics died to protect, that the world you trust is the greatest illusion ever created. For thousands of years, long before the word matrix existed, ancient thinkers warned humanity that the world around them was not what it appeared to be. The first to speak this hidden truth were the Gnostics. To them, the universe was not a perfect creation, but a trap, a beautifully crafted illusion built by a false god they called the Demiurge, a blind architect who believes he is the ultimate creator, yet understands nothing of the true infinite realm above him. According to Gnostic scripture, this Demiurge shaped the physical world like a cage, and filled it with endless distractions, pleasure, fear, ambition, survival, all designed to keep your inner self asleep. But the Gnostics were not alone. Across the sea in ancient Greece, Plato described the same idea. In his timeless allegory of the cave, humanity, he said, is chained in darkness, mistaking shadows on the wall for truth, never realizing the real world lies outside the cave. A perfect metaphor for the matrix the Gnostics spoke of. Further east, in ancient India, the sages of the Upanishads declared that the world is covered by Maya, a veil of illusion blinding the human mind. They taught that truth is hidden beneath layers of perception, emotion, and ego, layers designed to keep you wandering endlessly through a dream you think is real. And in China, the Taoists said the same thing in a different way. They taught that the world is filled with patterns, subtle energies, unseen forces, and unless you learn to see behind appearances, you will remain trapped in a life that is not your own. Different cultures, different languages, different centuries, yet all of them point to one startling conclusion. The world you see is an illusion, a self-contained system, a matrix built around your mind. To the ancient masters, the true prison was never physical. It was perception, the way you've been taught to think, the beliefs you inherited without question, the fears that were placed inside you long before you learned to speak. And like the prisoners in Plato's cave, most people never even realize they are chained. Have you ever felt that something or someone is shaping your life from the shadows? Not a person, not a government, but an intelligence that decides what is acceptable to think and what must remain hidden. In Gnostic teachings, this hidden force is called the Demiurge, a creator that is not the true source, but a lesser architect who built the world you see around you. According to this perspective, the Demiurge is neither completely evil nor truly divine. Instead, it is obsessed with structure, control, and order, a guardian of a system designed to keep humanity focused on the physical, while forgetting the spiritual. Think of it like this. You didn't just wake up in a world. You woke up inside a constructed reality, a cosmic operating system. The rules you follow, the beliefs you inherited, the fears you carry. All of them act like lines of code written not by you, but by the architect of this matrix. This is why, in the Gnostic view, suffering exists, not because it is meaningful, but because it keeps you distracted, trapped in a cycle of survival, consumption, and repetition. But here's the twist. The Demiurge isn't the true enemy. The real problem is when you forget that this world is only a layer, and not the deepest truth of what you are. Have you ever wondered why two people can live in the same world, yet experience completely different realities? Because the matrix you live in is not just physical, it's psychological. Gnostic teachings say that the greatest prison isn't made of walls or laws, but of perception. From the moment you were born, your senses began filtering reality. What you see is only a narrow spectrum of light. What you hear is only a fraction of the frequencies around you. And what you believe is shaped by everything you were told to accept without question. Your perception is not the full truth. It's a curated version of it, a slideshow designed to keep you engaged, obedient, and predictable. And here's the strange part. The more comfortable you feel inside this perception, the harder it becomes to step outside it. This is why Gnostics say that awakening isn't about learning new information, but about unlearning the illusions that shape your thoughts. The world you see is like a room with its lights dimmed. You assume the darkness is natural, because you've never been shown the switch. But deep down, a part of you knows there's more. A hidden world just beyond the limits of your senses. And once you question the perception that imprisons you, the cracks in the matrix begin to appear. If the world you live in is a constructed illusion, then someone, or something, must be maintaining it. In Gnostic philosophy, that being is called the Demiurge. Not a demon, not a god, but an architect, a cosmic engineer with one purpose: to keep humanity trapped inside a counterfeit reality. The Demiurge rules through structure. Rules, systems, beliefs, routines. And the more predictable your life becomes, the stronger the matrix grows around you. Think about it. Every day you wake up at the same time, go to the same places, think the same thoughts, and follow the same patterns. Not because you chose them, but because the world chose them for you. This is how the illusion sustains itself. Not with force, but with repetition. Gnostics believed the Demiurge feeds on ignorance, thrives when people accept the world as it is, without ever questioning who built it. But here's the part you were never told. The Demiurge is not all-powerful. Its greatest weapon is your belief in its authority. Its greatest weakness is your ability to become aware of the illusion. Because once you begin to see the cracks, once you start asking the right questions, the architect loses control, and the matrix you thought was unbreakable begins to crumble from within. If the world you see is an illusion, then what truth has been kept just out of your reach? Gnostics believed humanity once held a form of knowledge, a higher awareness, that allowed us to perceive reality beyond the physical world. A knowledge so powerful that losing it meant losing ourselves. They called it gnosis, not information, not belief, but direct inner knowing, a waking up from the dream. This was the secret the ancient world guarded, the truth that emperors, priests, and rulers feared, because a person who awakens from the illusion cannot be controlled by it. Gnosis teaches one thing above all: The world outside you is not the real battlefield. The real matrix is inside your mind. Every limiting belief, every fear, every self-doubt, they are the bars of your inner prison. Bars you were conditioned to accept as normal. But the moment you look within, really look, you begin to see that the matrix doesn't control you. You control it. This is why ancient texts were burned. Why entire traditions were erased. Why those who sought inner truth were silenced. Because a society filled with awakened individuals would be impossible to govern in the old way. Gnosis wasn't forbidden because it was dangerous. It was forbidden because it made you powerful. Because once you awaken, nothing, not the world, not the system, not the Demiurge, can convince you that the illusion is all there is. And that is the knowledge they never wanted you to find. If the ancient Gnostics warned of a false world, then the question becomes, has anything really changed? Look around. The illusions are no longer carved into stone. They are streamed, posted, marketed, and repeated, until you believe they came from your own mind. Modern society has built a new matrix, one made not of walls, but of distractions. You are told what success should look like, what beauty should look like, what dreams you're allowed to chase. And slowly, quietly, without noticing, your inner world is overwritten by the expectations of the outer world. This is the new illusion, a hyperreal projection designed to keep you busy, keep you consuming, keep you running toward goals that were never yours to begin with. The ancients warned about the Demiurge, the architect of the false world. But today, the false architect is no longer a single force. It is a machine made of algorithms, trends, opinions, and the invisible pressure to conform. Your attention is harvested, your identity shaped, your insecurities amplified, all to keep you locked inside a mental framework where escape feels unnecessary. And yet, the trap works only if you never question it, only if you accept the noise as truth, and forget that you once had the ability to see the world as it truly is. The modern matrix doesn't imprison your body. It imprisons your awareness. It convinces you that the shadow is worth more than the light. And unless you wake up, you will spend your entire life living inside a narrative written by someone else. There comes a moment in every seeker's life, a moment that arrives quietly, without warning, like a soft crack forming in a flawless mirror. Begins with a question. Simple, fragile, almost harmless. What if the world I've accepted is not the world as it truly is? That single thought is the first glitch in the matrix, because once you question the illusion, even slightly, the system can no longer hold itself together. Your old beliefs start to feel too small, your routines too repetitive, your desires strangely foreign. Things you once chased begin to lose meaning, and things you ignored suddenly call out to you with a quiet, unexplainable urgency. This is the first stage of awakening, not enlightenment, but dissonance. The world feels familiar, yet wrong, comfortable, yet strangely artificial, as if the script you've been following was written for someone else. Gnostics described this moment as the remembering, the instant the soul recognizes that it is not the body, not the identity, not the role it has been playing. It is the awareness behind the actor. And once this remembering begins, the matrix loses its power, because you are no longer reacting to the world. You are observing it. You start to see the patterns, the loops, the invisible signals shaping your behavior, the boundaries that were never real, only inherited. Most people ignore this moment. They feel the crack, the discomfort, the calling, and they bury it under noise. But those who listen, those who follow the crack to its source, discover that the illusion was never the prison. The real prison was mistaking the illusion for reality. Awakening sounds noble, powerful, liberating, but in truth, it is terrifying, because the moment you begin to wake up, the world you built your identity on starts to crumble. And nothing is more frightening to the human mind than losing the story it has lived inside for years. Most people don't fear the truth. They fear the collapse of the illusion that makes them feel safe. The Gnostics understood this. They believed the Matrix, the false world, is not protected by walls or weapons, but by comfort, your routines, your habits, your familiar distractions. These are the chains that keep you from seeing beyond the veil. Because the illusion makes one promise: you don't need to change. And the mind accepts this lie, because change requires sacrifice, uncertainty, and the courage to face yourself without filters. But the Matrix doesn't just rely on your fear. It resists your awakening. Notice what happens when you try to break a pattern, when you question a belief, when you step outside the expectations others built for you. Suddenly there is friction, pushback, people telling you not to overthink, not to question too much, not to drift too far from the path. It's not that they want to hold you back. It's that your awakening threatens their illusion. Your freedom exposes their chains. And so the system stabilizes itself by pressuring you to return to the familiar, to stay asleep, to remain predictable. The Gnostics warned that awakening is not a smooth ascent. It is a struggle, because every illusion fights for its survival. The Matrix doesn't fear strength. It fears awareness, because once you truly see, the illusion can no longer use you to sustain itself. According to the ancient Gnostics, awakening was not a belief, not a philosophy, but a symptom, a shift in consciousness that begins long before you understand what is happening to you. They described 3 unmistakable signs that a person is already slipping out of the Matrix, whether they realize it or not. Sign 1. The discomfort with the ordinary. You begin to feel a strange hollowness in the routines that once defined you. The conversations you used to enjoy now feel shallow. The goals you once chased feel staged. You sense that something crucial is missing from the world around you, and you can't explain why. This is the first spark, the soul rejecting the script. Sign 2. The sudden ability to see patterns. You start noticing things most people overlook, repeating cycles, invisible expectations, manipulations hidden in plain sight. The Gnostics said this happens when the inner eye begins to open, the ability to see the architecture behind the illusion. You begin to observe life instead of merely participating in it. Sign 3. The rising sense that you're not from here. Not literally, but internally. You feel like a visitor, walking through a world that doesn't fully match your nature. This feeling isn't alienation. It is remembering. Remembering that your consciousness comes from beyond the physical world. That the Matrix is something you experience, not something you belong to. The Gnostics taught that these 3 signs mark the beginning of a spiritual rupture, a crack in the illusion, from which light can finally enter. Not everyone sees these signs. Fewer still act on them. But once they appear, there is no going back. You are already waking up. And the Matrix knows it. The moment you begin to wake up, a conflict starts inside you. Not a physical struggle, but a psychological one. The Gnostics believed every human carries two selves within them. The true self, silent, aware, eternal. The spark of consciousness that comes from beyond the material world. And the artificial self, the identity shaped by society, by expectations, by fear, by the demands of the Matrix. These two selves coexist until awakening forces them into collision. The artificial self is built out of stories you never chose. Your name, your labels, your roles. It is comfortable because it is familiar, but it is also fragile. The true self, however, has no fear, no attachments, no need for validation. It wants one thing only: freedom. And this is where the inner war begins. When the true self awakens, the artificial self panics. It clings to old habits, old emotions, old versions of you that keep the illusion intact. You feel this as resistance, as anxiety, as the urge to retreat into the life you're outgrowing. The Gnostics describe this conflict as the soul pulling upward, while the world pulls downward, upward toward truth, downward toward comfort. And the frightening part is this: most people spend their entire lives fighting against themselves, without ever realizing which part of them is real. But once you see the conflict, once you recognize the voice of the artificial self, trying to pull you back into the familiar, something changes. You gain choice, and choice is the first weapon. In the war for your own consciousness, your awakening is not a peaceful transition. It is a rebellion, a revolt of the true self, against the illusion that tried to contain it.